Hey Toy fans, I'm D21 Beast and welcome back to another week of Project Geek Week. With me this week we've got Greg.
Hey.
And as you can see, JT is missing for another week, but don't worry guys, he will be back next week as we cover Avengers Age of Ultron. So some pretty exciting stuff coming up there. Before we get to the notes that we have for the show today, two bits of news have actually come out. The first one we want to mention is that just recently online, an image of Jared Leto as the Joker has been released to the masses. And it's definitely a different take on Joker than I think a lot of people were expecting. He's very tattooed.
Yeah.
He's got shorter hair. The makeup around his lips, I guess, isn't as exaggerated as it's been, especially with the Heath Ledger Joker.
I've got to say that there have been kind of preview photos or little drips and dribs of Jared Leto Joker coming out over the past couple weeks, I guess. And I'm much more satisfied with the photo that just came out than what I've been seeing.
Yeah.
It's different. It's very different. But I was more concerned having seen the previous photos than I am having seen the new one. So, yeah.
And I got to say, with all the tattoos that he's got, he almost seems like they're going for a guy who's hardened by prison life. You know, it's kind of an interesting look for the Joker.
More of a street Joker or a jail Joker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've put the image up on the screen while we've been talking about it. Definitely an interesting look, though. I'm curious to see how he's actually going to act now that he's the
we got to
Joker.
see him in motion. Got to see what he's up to first. But
yeah,
the look is fine. I mean, I'm not off-put by it. It's just, okay, that's what it looks like now.
Who knows? I mean, it could be another generation's Joker. So, moving on, we also had Batman Dark Knight Returns 3, or Volume 3, Number 3. I'm not really sure what the official title is going to be. Set to come out this fall, September. Frank Miller is writing, and I didn't look to see. I think he might be doing the art again. So just kind of an interesting point of note. I read The Dark Knight Rises a long time ago. It's certainly a groundbreaking book. The Dark Knight Returns, or not The Dark Knight Returns. I read The Dark Knight Returns a while ago. Yeah. I never read the second volume of it, and I had a friend who's really into Batman told me it wasn't as strong. I'm not super excited for this third volume of Dark Knight Returns. How about you?
Well, I haven't read any of them, so I've got nothing to look forward to there. But I'm curious: is the shtick of these books the whole Batman versus Superman thing? Like, is it a fight between the two of them in every one?
I haven't read the second one, but I don't think there's Superman in the second one.
Oh, okay. So well, I don't know if that's what we like. Can we look forward to that happening in the third one, or if that's not going to happen?
Who knows? I mean, you know what? With this coming out so close, it starts in September. Let's pretend it's 6 issues long. By the time this story's done, Batman v Superman will be in theaters. So if they wanted to have a Superman rematch...
Nice lead-in.
Well, actually, you know what? I'll bet Superman is in this third volume because the actual preview image that I'm putting up on the screen is the same sort of Batman on a high wire.
It had the Superman logo.
It had the bloody Superman logo. So, yeah, I guess we can expect... Superman to appear. So,
do you think not to be a conspiracy theorist, but do you think Warner came to him and was like, "Hey, we got this movie coming out," and
Frank Miller's been doing a lot of different projects lately. Some would argue that he hasn't been great since the 80s, so it may have been a case of he wanted to tell another story, and they're like, "Yeah, we got a movie coming out." Yeah. So we'll see. I guess we'll just kind of keep an eye out for that. We might review that book when it comes out, guys.
And that segues nicely into the Batman v Superman trailer.
Absolutely. And before we get to... First, I got to say about this trailer. We film these shows every Friday night. We typically shoot Central Time between like 8 and 10, depending on when we get started. This trailer came out after I had gotten home and had already started editing last week's show.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It's like, this would have been a huge thing to cover on last week's show. But so the trailer came out, and it's definitely an interesting take on the whole Batman versus Superman premise.
There's a lot of stuff in the trailer that I didn't really feel... I mean, there's going to have to be more setup for Superman, because after seeing Man of Steel, I never got the sense that people considered him a god or were worshiping him. And in the trailer, there's kind of a big deal made out of he's a false god and people shouldn't worship. I was like, what? Nobody was worshiping him.
Yeah, it's curious to see how much has passed since Man of Steel in this movie. One thing I'll say that I actually kind of enjoyed about the trailer is there was a lot of backlash online after Man of Steel with all the collateral damage that happened in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I, myself, watching it was like, man, he destroyed the place where his mom works, for crying out loud. But a lot of Metropolis destroyed.
Not to supersede the later discussion, but we also got a little bit of that in Daredevil as well. I think there's kind of a reaction to the superheroes destroying towns and nobody caring in superhero fiction right now.
Yes.
People are realizing, oh, wait, we kind of have to address that.
Yes, yeah. So, and I like that this movie's sort of addressing that. And I like the idea that there was a monument to Superman set up that's actually been spray painted on it, False God. I think for me, that's my favorite moment of the trailer. Mm-hmm. Not the money shot at the end where Batman and Superman are about to square off, but it's really that idea that Superman has to kind of figure out his place. So, overall, I think the trailer was pretty good. I think that I still probably liked the Star Wars trailer that came out last week more than I liked this Batman trailer.
I would say it was more impactful for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I haven't been thinking about the Batman v Superman trailer really.
I haven't really either. Yeah. So, but I will say I did like that line at the end of the trailer. I know it's kind of cliche almost at this point because everybody said it. Yes. Yeah. So, very sort of mechanical or modulated voice for Batman. And yeah, just
I don't know if that's because he's in the suit though, like the power suit, or
I don't know either. Yeah. But we've seen a trend both with Smallville and with Arrow and possibly on Flash. I can't remember. I haven't seen enough episodes where the hero always seems to have a voice modulator every time they talk.
Do you think Luthor's going to make that suit for him? He almost has to because Luthor has his own power suit, right?
Yeah, I didn't consider that.
Yeah, I just thought of that just now.
Being the fact that they're like,
Luthor's going to be in the
industry.
Movie.
Yeah,
maybe
they'll Bruce and Luthor team up to stop Superman, and they work on a suit together, and obviously at the end of this movie, these guys are not going to be at each other's throats. Mm-hmm. And I doubt the film's just going to end with them, shaking hands and saying, well, nice to meet you, chum. So maybe they end up coming together to take down Luthor, who has his own suit. I don't know. That's
it's possible that Luthor is... he tries to use Batman against Superman, but they realize it. I guess another thing is, I haven't read The Dark Knight Returns, but I'm curious how much you think the movie is going to pull from the book.
It's hard to say at this point. Obviously, Batman's been aged up, just like he was in the story. And Superman, well, the thing is, not as many years has passed, I don't think. And The Dark Knight Returns, they're much older. And it's like Gotham's gone completely to hell at this point. Batman's been gone for a while. Joker's been locked up. He hasn't even done anything. First of all, we don't even know he's going to be in this movie. But there's just tonally, it's very different, I think, if anything. And I've seen this said online before, too, that Batman v Superman might have more in line with Injustice Gods Among Us. Mm-hmm. With some influences from The Dark Knight Returns. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of what the expectation, I think, going in should be.
Well, a lot of the speculation I've seen with regard to Batman fighting Superman is Superman would just wipe the floor with Batman.
Absolutely.
But apparently in the comic, at least...
he has a suit and a kryptonite ring.
He does, yeah. So basically Superman was weakened. Yep. I don't know if they're going to do that. Like, it certainly did not look like Superman was weakened in the trailer.
No, and the one thing about the kryptonite ring is Man of Steel... they made kryptonite seem like just being in the atmosphere of the planet is what made Superman weak. We never actually saw any kryptonite. Mm-hmm. So I almost wonder if that's even going to be a thing in this movie universe. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, so we both enjoyed the trailer, but we're probably not gaga over it, I would say.
Yeah, and also, what role is Aquaman going to have in all of this?
We don't know. Aquaman, Wonder Woman are for sure going to be in there. Cyborg, I think the guy, Victor Stone, the guy who becomes Cyborg, I think is supposed to be in the movie, but I don't know how all of those cameos are going to work out.
They're going to have to try to set up their whole Justice League thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it may be a throwaway scene with different people at different points in the movies. I think Wonder Woman's going to have more to do than other Justice Leaguers. So, yeah, again, we'll have to see how it all comes together.
Yep.
So, here's a thought. Maybe Batman's been somehow acquiring all these people to take down Superman. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
So he has a team of
exactly, yeah. So... all right, so let's move on to the Fantastic Four trailer. So, what was it, 24 hours after we got the Batman vs. Superman trailer?
I just saw the Fantastic Four today, so...
oh, okay. Well, it was a pretty busy weekend last weekend. So, this new Fantastic Four trailer, I've got to say, I'm still not 100% sold on Fantastic Four, the new movie, but this trailer actually does it for me.
Yeah, I was more excited by this trailer than the previous one, for sure. We actually saw Johnny... did we see this in the previous trailer? We saw him do his flame on.
There's a scene in the first trailer where he's kneeling in a hallway, and as he stands up, I think he flames on, so it's not nearly as dramatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was much more clear this time. I mean, you just see him right there. We also saw Doom, which is cool.
Yes.
And that he was in the suit, no less.
Yeah, and it's an interesting sort of take on the suit, but it does look like Doom. That is Doom.
Yep.
So.
And we got more about I guess we saw a little bit of that last time, but we saw that essentially Sue is likely to be the adopted one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we saw, I guess, I don't know what the dad's name is, but Professor Storm.
Yeah, we'll call him that, yeah. So, and also, in a sort of change from the comics, Johnny seems to be involved with whatever project's going on. Like, he's on the ground floor, and I don't know if he's just there checking it out because his sister and his dad are involved or what, but it seems like he might actually be somehow involved with the project.
Yeah.
So
they kind of turned that on its head too, and I don't know if that was intentional because you assume when you've got Reed Richards and Sue Storm, they're the scientists, and also in the last trailer you saw Johnny working on cars.
Exactly.
So it's like he's probably just going to get swept up in this.
Yeah.
Looked completely different this time.
Right.
It's more like, okay, so Sue is working there because she's the adopted daughter of Professor Storm, and really this Johnny is very much involved. We didn't really see much of Ben though.
We didn't.
I mean, we saw the Thing.
The Thing, yeah, absolutely. But Ben Grimm. Yeah. I mean, I think there was Now I'm trying to maybe confusing the scenes. Is there a scene where Johnny's like trying to do a fist bump? Oh, it was with Reed.
Yeah,
that's
that
what it was.
Reed,
And he just hits his hand.
He's just like grabbing it.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. But overall, the trailer actually had a lot of cool stuff going on in it. I think I'm going to have to see Fantastic Four before I finally decide whether or not I think that they've handled the property well. I'm still not ready for these guys to mix in with the X-Men since they seem to be going well, but I definitely think this trailer is an improvement over what we got previously.
We haven't seen Sue, at least not that we know, in invisible form.
We did.
Oh,
we did.
Okay.
There was a scene where they were doing almost a montage of each one of them showing their powers.
Okay.
And I think Johnny was strapped to a table and lit on fire. Reed was strapped to a table and was like his
I
arms were
remember
stretching
that.
out.
I must have just missed Sue.
And Sue, we missed Sue because she was invisible.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they showed there. And I don't think we see Ben on a table, but we see that pile of rocks that's sort of starting to form itself. So. All right, so a great trailer there as well.
Yeah,
keeping in line with all the movie news, this next bit of news has not yet been officially confirmed, but according to TrekMovie.com, they have it on good authority that the third Star Trek movie is going to be called Star Trek Beyond. And not only do they think that, but that name has apparently been registered with the MPAA, so it makes it seem kind of possible.
They're reserving it at the very least.
That's what the name's going to be. My initial thoughts, I guess, on the title is that it's another Star Trek sentence title. It's not Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, or Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. It's Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah, I mean, the general consensus I've seen is it's kind of a lame title, and I think everybody would pretty much agree. What are we beyond? Are we Star Trek Beyond J.J. Abrams? Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Beyond Into Darkness? I don't know.
Maybe, hopefully, you're right. Good point. Hopefully this is a sign that we're finally beyond the solar system and that they've gone out and they're doing something.
Yep.
So it's an interesting title.
It certainly does not evoke the concept of a Klingon war that they were.
No, it really doesn't. Yeah, and I don't know that it even. Beyond can mean so many things, but are they exploring the unknown? Why not call it Star Trek Where No Man Has Gone Before?
Yeah.
that.
And, honestly, we had The Undiscovered Country, which I thought was a good title. But all in all, the Star Trek movies have not had very good titles. So it's not necessarily a bad title. Like Wrath of Khan, whatever.
Yeah.
Search for Spock. It's all kind of literal. So,
yeah, exactly.
So it's really not...
And maybe that's the problem with this title, is that it's not so literal. Or maybe it will be once we see the movie. Into Darkness, I don't think was that literal.
No, and that was a very strange title, too. But anyway, I wouldn't, I guess, infer too much about the quality of the movie from the title, but it does not sound great.
Right. So
STB.
I think that is probably one of the trailers I'm most anticipating when we finally get a trailer for Star Trek Beyond.
Yep.
So, but one thing we have here, moving on, we have some news on Captain America. So actress Elizabeth Olsen was at a London press event for Avengers Age of Ultron. She was asked by E! Online if she's going to appear in Captain America, and she said, or Captain America Civil War. She said, "Yes, I am." So it's interesting that she says that.
And then she got fired.
Right, yeah. I think, and I don't have the full article in front of me, I think she does actually kind of question what she's about to say and says, I think I can say it now. So she's going to be in Captain America Civil War. Interestingly, there's no mention in the article from E! Online, well, at least not that I saw through other websites, that Quicksilver is going to be in there. So we'll see what happens. We got Avengers in a week.
Yeah,
so,
we got the setup to Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch at the end of the previous Cap movie.
We did, yeah.
So, it makes sense that they would be back. And it's possible simply that Aaron Taylor Johnson hasn't been asked, or, I'm sure he'll get asked now.
Yeah. Or, you're right. He'll definitely be asked now in interviews. But it could be a case, too, I guess, where wherever Age of Ultron ends, maybe they're on opposite sides of whatever's going on.
Yeah, it's possible.
So, yeah, that'll be interesting.
I guess since Cap is going to be Civil War, this doesn't necessarily make sense, but is it possible that Scarlet Witch is still going to have kind of a main villain role in that movie, or?
That's an interesting idea.
I guess we have to see Ultron first.
I feel like as many stories that have been pulled from Scarlet Witch's powers or her ability to kind of manipulate reality, really, I don't know how she'd fit into Civil War. Mm-hmm. I think Civil War needs to be free of other distractions. It needs to be, since we're only getting one movie for Civil War, we just need Civil War the movie, I think.
I'm not clear on the whole timeline. Wasn't House of M after Civil War?
No.
Oh, it was
House
before.
of M was before.
So do you think there will be any of that in Ultron?
I don't think so.
They don't have the mutants, so that's going to pull a lot of steam out of that.
The crux of, House of M was depowering mutants. That was one of the reasons, a clever story writing device, if you will, to get rid of all the mutants that were cropping everywhere to make mutants special again.
And it's because she lost her daughter or son or something.
She lost her babies that she had with the Vision.
Yeah.
Well, she never had them to begin with. That was part of the problem. She kind of went nuts when she realized that her children didn't exist anymore. So, and then of course there was the whole idea of Magneto being ruler. I think he was actually a ruler of a nation in Africa, if not the whole country. And yeah, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are kind of the royal children. So there's a lot with that story that they just can't translate because so much X-Men is ingrained.
Well, we've got Vision coming up in Age of Ultron. Is it possible that we'll see any of that?
I think that it's probably likely that Scarlet Witch and Vision will have some sort of relationship with each other. Mm-hmm. I don't know how far they'll take it, but I think in the comics, Scarlet Witch and Vision were an item since like the 70s, and it wasn't until the early 2000s that all of that fell apart. So for a lot of people, a lot of different generations, I think Scarlet Witch and Vision are just as synonymous with the Avengers as Scott and Jean are with the X-Men.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that's a relationship that we're going to see.
Yeah, I'm sure we won't see Magneto at all, but it would be interesting if they tried to do any sort of House of M setup. I don't know if any of that's necessary for Civil War, though.
Not for Civil War.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's elements of that story I think they could definitely pull on. Maybe when it's time to... Because one thing about House of M was after the whole No More Mutants thing, Scarlet Witch disappeared. Nobody knew where she was. She had lost her mind. She turned out to be in some, like, really old-fashioned village in Europe when they finally found her. So if they want to kind of transition out of using Scarlet Witch in movies, and Vision for that matter, because Vision actually died during Avengers Disassembled when all of this went on and it led to House of M, they could potentially do that sort of storyline where everything goes to heck and she's gone, she's just missing, and then they kind of move on to new heroes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, great ideas actually. I hadn't really ever considered those being applied to the movie universe, but we'll see what happens. And then also for Captain America Civil War, Charlie Cox, the man who's been playing Daredevil on Netflix, was asked if he'd like to be involved. IGN was doing an interview with him, and they said, well, Captain America Civil War is coming out, and of course Daredevil's got a pretty noticeable role in the Civil War comic. And he said that he'd like to do it. In fact, I think his words were that that'd be great, but he hasn't been asked yet. And I think Captain America Civil War is set to start filming in the next 2-3 weeks.
Well, they gave it enough time to kind of test the reaction
to
Daredevil.
They did, yeah.
So far has been overwhelmingly positive from what I've seen.
And I personally think it would be great to see Daredevil in Captain America Civil War. And I'm not saying he's got to be a main character or even one of the main figures on Cap's side like he was in the story. I mean, he really was one of the major players. But it'd be cool to see him in the movie in some fashion doing what he does. I mean, he's kind of a part of the universe now, and he's got a costume, and it just, if anything, it would fill out the universe in the film to show what the divided lines have to be. You could have a montage where different heroes are fighting for their lives, and cut to a scene where Daredevil's doing his amazing martial arts skills while trying to evade capture from the government. And
timeline-wise, I guess it would line up pretty well.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, we saw, again, we're kind of digging into Daredevil a little bit, but we've seen how Avengers 1 affected the premise of Daredevil as it started. There's a high potential, I think, that if Daredevil Season 2 happens after Captain America Civil War, which it seems like it will, that the events of Captain America Civil War would have just as much of an effect on Daredevil's world going into the beginning of Season 2.
Yep.
So... all right, well, let's keep on moving here. Another bit of movie news is Sony announced that they are going to do a Spider-Man animated film set for release on July 20th in 2018. So first of all, happy birthday.
Hey.
Second, Greg's birthday is July 20th. Second of all, it's interesting to see that Sony's doing an animated Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, there hasn't been a big-budget animated Spider-Man movie, has there?
No, there hasn't.
In fact, there hasn't been a big-budget superhero animated movie, has there?
If we depends on if we count Big Hero 6.
Oh, okay, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll be CGI, or I was thinking cartoon when I
think it'll be CG.
Oh, okay,
it seems anymore that's the way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no official confirmation on that, but everything's CG anymore. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
The last 2D film I can remember being in theaters that at least I attended was Princess and the Frog, and what was that, like 2005 or 2006? So it's been a while.
It seems like 2D animation, unfortunately, I would say, is kind of going the way of the dinosaur as far as big budget, but...
So I would say it's a fair bet that it'll be CG. Yep. USA Today reported that today. I know some of the news got out about it on last night, but one of the notable things about the Spider-Man movie is that the creative team working on it are Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are famous for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, an animated film they did for Sony. They did the 21 Jump Street movies, which were huge box office successes. And they did the Lego movie. They wrote the Lego movie that came out earlier last year. So their track record's really good right now. And I'm very excited to see what they do with an animated Spider-Man movie.
Who's the villain going to be?
We don't know yet, but if it's animated, God, that'd be Mysterio, man. They could have so much fun with that. Yeah, I mean,
I really hope that they do pick someone that they can actually take advantage of the medium with,
Yeah.
They don't pick somebody like...
Tombstone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
No, I think absolutely, yeah. I think Mysterio would be a lot of fun. I know a lot of people, especially around Spider-Man 3, we're wanting to see Mysterio. So I think it'd be a lot of fun to have an animated
They haven't done
movie.
Mysterio on the big screen yet.
No, they haven't.
That'd be good.
There was a rumor when Sam Raimi was doing Spider-Man 4, and Vulture was supposed to be the main villain. Bruce Campbell's role was going to be playing a really bad magician at one point in the movie named Quentin Beck.
There we go.
The guy who played, but that never happened. So, all right, well, there's no casting details, nothing really story-wise announced about that. So, but it's just an interesting point. Oh, and if I didn't mention it already, the animated Spider-Man movie will not be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Interesting.
So it will be completely separate. First, I thought it'd be kind of cool if Marvel had live-action Spidey and Sony just did animated films. Frankly, I think that'd be a really good idea. But no, they're just kind of...
If they don't clearly separate Sony Spider-Man from MCU Spider-Man, it's going to be confusing.
It will be, yeah. So I don't know that this replaces the live-action Spider-Man film we're expecting from Sony, but personally, I think it'd be great, yeah, if all Sony Spider-Man films were animated and then his live-action appearances were controlled strictly by Marvel. I think that'd be a good way to connect the brands, or at least keep them separated while the same at the same time. And then moving on, one quick bit of note I want to talk about here too, as we're talking about filming dates and everything, is that this Monday is when filming starts for X-Men Apocalypse. So I'm personally really excited about that. Bryan Singer's Twitter feed every day is another picture of here's the person who's cast, here's the site we're filming. So if you guys are on Twitter, definitely check out Bryan Singer's Twitter feed. We'll be talking about it on the show, but if it's any indication based on how he handled X-Men Days of Future Past, every step of the way he was tweeting images and set photos and all sorts of crazy things. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, on Twitter for X-Men fans. So I'm looking forward to that coming up. But again, Monday is when filming starts. Then also what we have here, this is kind of TV news. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is getting a spin-off series. And this...
Nobody saw that coming.
Right? This story just kind of came out of nowhere. I remember it being sort of a rumor, I think, or even earlier in the week. Now it's official. Deadline reports that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spin-off series will feature Mockingbird and Hunter.
Does that mean we're going to lose them on Agents
That's
of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
what I'm worried about. I think Hunter has been a major asset to season 2 of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
Mockingbird hasn't worked out for me as well as I kind of hoped she would.
She's been serviceable. I haven't had any problems with her.
I guess you're right. My biggest problem with her is this whole second S.H.I.E.L.D. thing that's been going on. I think that's where her character's definitely kind of dropped a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Hunter, man, I think he's really kind of stealing this show every time he's on. So I don't want to lose him. Yeah. I mean, if we lose Hunter and Bobby, assuming Mac's going to be gone, and he's only a guest star in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he could easily be gone by the end of the season. Yeah. Let's assume that all 3 of those additions leave. We're back to where we were at the end of season 1, come season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Could you see, who... I'm guessing who would join the cast from the guest cast that we have already? Somebody like Raina, or maybe some of the Inhumans that we've seen?
I guess Raina's a good guess because she's been in so many episodes so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it unreasonable to assume that Mike Peterson would be a regular? I mean,
that'd be
the
good.
Makeup work would probably be a pain for him. But maybe we could see more of him.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they'll bring in another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Maybe the idea was the whole time, let's introduce somebody just so we can put them off on something else.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get... think of another low-powered hero or something. I don't know, somebody along those lines.
Well, I was thinking the guy Lincoln from...
Oh, yeah, sure. Lincoln could join the team. Yeah. So I guess we'll have to see where all of that goes by the end of the season. So,
do you think we're going to get rid of Cal before the end of the season, or do you think he'll be still out there as a threat?
That's a hard one to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys are following the events.
I guess we'll get to that when we actually talk about the show. But
Well, we're talking about the spin-off series here. I think that's an interesting point to make, especially with the recent news that the Twin Peaks spin-off series may not be happening now.
I know. I remember David Lynch was not interested now.
Yeah, he apparently had some sort of meetings and he's walked away from the show. I think if that series was going, and from what I understand, David Lynch already wrote all 9 episodes for the Twin Peaks sequel series. 9 episodes gives an actor a lot of time to do other projects.
Yeah.
But, Kyle MacLachlan would obviously have certain commitments to that show. I kind of pictured that he may just go away for a little bit and then show up again on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but who knows? I mean, if he dies at the end of the season, maybe that was the whole plan the whole time and why he was even going to be able to do Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
So I guess we have to see where the series goes at the end and see if he could show up.
He's been one of my favorite parts of season 2, so I'd be really sad if we lose him. But at the same time, I can't really see him becoming a regular cast member. I don't think his character fits in that role, so yeah.
So, and we'll talk more about that as we get to S.H.I.E.L.D., I suppose. So, basically, to sum things up, an interesting idea for a S.H.I.E.L.D. spinoff. I just really don't like that they'd be pulling Hunter from the cast of... I mean, he's really an improvement for Season 2.
Do you know... Well, I guess, that's one question. Do you know if it's going to be contemporaneous with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because we could have...
like a prequel series.
Well, yeah, we could have more with Lucy Lawless and her team.
Okay, let's take that angle.
Yeah.
Agent Carter hasn't been picked up for a season 2 yet. So, and despite it being an amazing show, very well reviewed from everything I've seen, its ratings are actually worse than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I don't think they're planning on doing a second season. Now, the Television Critic Association is in 4 weeks, and I think in that point they're going to announce what shows. ABC hasn't announced any early renewals at this point. They haven't talked about anything coming up. So when these shows get picked up or added or whatever, we'll know for sure what they're doing and if Agent Carter comes back. But I think at this point the expectation is that we will not get another season of Agent Carter, which for me, I both love and hate because
I'm okay with that. I think if that show stood alone as the one season we got, it would actually
be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
don't
it was
run
really
it into
good.
the ground. It was good.
Yeah. So, but you're right. Maybe we'll get another mid-season filler that will be the story of when these guys met maybe the first time.
Yeah.
So
and I just think that people have enjoyed Lucy Lawless in
absolutely.
S.H.I.E.L.D., so I could see them doing a spin-off, maybe even a one-season like Agent Carter, where you kind of learn more about their team beforehand.
Sure. Yeah, that could work out really well, actually.
Ever James Olmos, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. So, yeah, there's definitely some potential there. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our comic book reviews for the week. The first book that we're going to be looking at is actually Star Wars number 4. Now, if you guys have been sticking with our show, we've actually covered every episode of the main Star Wars series so far. This issue was actually written by Jason Aaron and drawn by John Cassaday, the same creative team that we've had previously. And this book was definitely kind of a cool-down issue, I thought. After all the frantic action we had in the first 3 issues, we had the Rebels who were basically kind of regrouping and planning their next move. And we had Vader, who was actually having a pretty interesting meeting with Jabba.
Yep.
But not a lot of action.
Not a lot of action. I actually really liked this issue just because you got to see the Jabba-Vader interaction.
Yes.
And you can really see where the seeds of Return of the Jedi came from.
Yes.
And how, Jabba was like, hey, take a look at this Sarlacc that I have.
Yeah, right?
It very well set that up, as well as showed you, like, Vader thought he was in complete control there, but Jabba also thought he was in complete control there. So you can see that kind of the two warring minds, both of them very powerful.
Yep.
I'm sure there are some Star Wars fans who think either of those guys is really in control. So yeah.
The way I read the book, it seems like I thought Vader was letting Jabba be in control until it got annoying.
Yeah, Vader was certainly from his perspective. He was like, if you ever became an issue, my empire would just wipe you out like a bug. But at the same time, Jabba, he's got resources that you don't know about.
True.
So.
Perhaps even a resource that we saw by the end of this issue.
Yes. So if we want to go, are you referring to Boba Fett?
Yes.
Okay, well, I was thinking, who is the extra not bounty hunter?
Okay, so
that woman.
There was a girl in this issue, and if it weren't for the fact that Leia was hanging out with Han,
I thought
the other side of the book, because like in this book, Leia's trying to get stuff done. She's trying to make moves against the Empire, and is it Mothra?
Yeah, she's convinced. Yeah, she's trying to convince Akbar Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothra, that now's the time to act, and they basically say no, it's not. And she's like, you guys are crazy. And I thought, well, maybe she'd be kind of a prelude to Return of the Jedi. She's picking up this bounty hunter persona, and she's going and trying to get things done. But yeah, she's with Han the entire time.
She is.
So I wonder. I got a feeling this is not a throwaway character. This is probably somebody important.
Do you think it's original? That's the one question.
I haven't watched Star Wars Rebels at all, but I wonder if it's somebody from Rebels.
See, because I was thinking there are probably some people who watch or read or know Star Wars well enough that they're thinking, I know who this is, or I think I know who this is. I've got no idea.
I have no idea either, yeah. So if you guys know, any of you Star Wars fans, if this is somebody from Rebels or somebody that we should know, let us know. I'd be very interested to find out, what you're guessing or what you think. But it was still really cool to kind of have that sort of mystery element. She even met with Greedo's friends.
Yeah, there were lots of references in this issue. You had the Rhodians, and you had Akbar and Mon Mothma, and Jabba, and the Sarlacc, and the Banthas. I mean, there were just full
Salacious Crumb even got his laugh out at that one panel. Yeah, so
and then Vader threatened to kill him.
So I mean, a lot of really cool stuff in this. I gotta say, if I have one complaint about this book, it's that they didn't mention Obi-Wan's box for Luke at all.
Yeah, well, and I think they're building toward that though, because it seemed like Luke's going off to.
He is, yeah. Is he going to Dagobah? You think?
Well, he said he was going to Tatooine.
Oh, that's right. He's going to Tatooine first. So I guess we'll find the box.
Yeah. So I think that we're gonna, if not in the next issue, at least soon, see more about that box. Also. The bounty hunters were looking for, the first one was looking for Solo, and Boba Fett was looking for Kenobi.
Oh, yes, he wasn't he? Yeah.
So I think we'll definitely get more on that box soon. It is a little bit frustrating because it's been, 2 issues now since we've even heard of the box. So.
Yeah. So, but still a great book, guys. Star Wars is definitely something you want to be reading, especially if it seems to be tying into other Star Wars properties like it might be doing right now. So, the next book that we want to go ahead and cover this week was actually All New X-Men number 40. Now, we haven't typically been covering All New X-Men. As a fan of X-Men in general, I've actually been reading quite a bit. I'm not 100% up to date on All New X-Men. I've been reading the trades as they come out, and I think I'm somewhere around the 20s, but All New X-Men is a book that kind of features the original 5 X-Men displaced in time, in the present, and kind of dealing with knowing what happened to them in the past and try to change their future. And also X-23, Wolverine's female clone, is also a member of the team now. So this book is written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Mahmoud Asrar. And I actually kind of really like the art in this book. I thought it was very clean, very sort of pop animation style. It's
definitely its own style, yeah.
Yeah. And this book is the first issue, I think, following the Black Vortex event that has been happening in comics lately with the team up between the Guardians of the Galaxy and All New X-Men. A lot of different sort of reveals in this book. Now, one of them has definitely made the headlines, and that's, of course, that Iceman has been revealed to be gay. I thought, before I read the issue, I kind of have a problem with what Marvel's doing with X-Men characters right now, where they seem to just be changing things about the X-Men, like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, or they've been downplaying X-Men in other properties. It just feels like they're kind of doing what they want to with X-Men without regard for what the results are going to be.
They even addressed that a little bit when Iceman's like, but future me isn't gay.
Exactly, and I was going to mention that, yeah. So, before I read the book, I was really kind of up in arms about yet another seemingly pointless change for the sake of change. But after I read the issue, Brian Michael Bendis has a way with dialogue, and I really enjoy his scenes. Just as an aside, one of my favorite issues of his that has no action in it at all is the issue of Ultimate Spider-Man when he finally tells Aunt May that he's Spider-Man. The entire book, pretty much, I think, is a conversation, and it's such a good sort of emotional. It's two people that love each other dearly, and Peter's having a hard time saying it, and Aunt May's, trying to give him the leeway because she kind of suspects already anyway, but it was really powerful to, read the dialogue, and we get that same sort of thing here as Jean Grey talks to Iceman.
Except she's apparently reading his mind.
Well, yeah, and that's actually been a consistent problem with Jean Grey in All New X-Men, is that she didn't realize how powerful she was, and when she got snapped into the future, she didn't realize everything she could do with her powers, and she's pretty much been abusing her abilities since she's realized what she's capable of. So, but I did appreciate the dialogue between them. I appreciated the way that Iceman kind of took offense and then kind of shunned her away, and then they kind of talked about it some more. So I really liked how all of that came out.
Yeah, this was similar to the other issue you were talking about. Is very much it was all conversation. There was not really much action. I think the only action you really get is at the beginning and the end when you've got those new mutants. They're not new to me, at least.
Yeah.
I think they killed a bunch of guys who came to Utopia. Yeah.
Well, would you call them pillagers, I guess? I don't know, we really got...
They heard some rumor that there was still something there, and then they show up, and it's apparently mutants who don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, right? So yeah, with the Iceman thing, I thought it was handled very well. And also, just as an aside, Sean Ashmore and Bryan Singer have actually been tweeting about this on Twitter, and they're both very supportive of it. And Bryan Singer actually said, he did an interview, and I forget who he did it with, but he was talking about how that fact that Iceman's gay now, he thinks that that's really kind of interesting and almost informative to his choice in women in the 2 movies that he directed. He said, that Iceman in the comics had never really been with Rogue, but when he did the X-Men films, he liked the idea of a guy being in love with a girl that he can't be in physical contact with. And he said that if Iceman turns out to be gay in the movies, that adds so much subtext to everything that he said so far that he would pick a girl that he knows he can't be close to. So I thought that was kind of fascinating that he kind of gave that standpoint. But also in this issue, and actually the bigger surprise for me, mostly because I already knew about Iceman coming out, was the fact that X-23 and Angel tend to be an item now.
Yeah.
X-23, I'm a huge fan of everything that's been done with X-23 since she first showed up on X-Men Evolution all those years ago. And as they integrated into the comics, she became a very tortured person, very emotionless and sort of just like a killer, and it's very hard for her to get close to people. And she always says the most inappropriate, morbid things just randomly because to her it's nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah. And she seems to be falling for Angel, and they actually share a kiss in this book.
See, and I haven't been following this series at all, so it's a little bit strange that kind of the way that you would reveal to someone that you have feelings for them is to say "I love you." It's like that's a jumping the gun a little bit, isn't it? Moving forward a few steps, and then she's immediately, I guess, interested as well. So maybe that's something that's just been building up over a while, and I haven't been able to see it.
Maybe it has been too, because where I'm at in the trades, catching up on All New X-Men, there are 15 issues in or something. X-23 hasn't joined yet, so I haven't seen a lot of interplay between her and Angel, but it definitely seems like in Black Vortex that they had times where they must have been close or depending on each other, and that some feelings have definitely been building. Yeah. But I've got to say, just from somebody who's read all new X-Men, so there's another all new X-Men back during House of M, and long story. There was also the NYX series. There was Uncanny when X-23 joined. And basically, I've read a lot of X-23, and it's very surprising to me to see her kind of letting her go with her emotions in a positive way. So I kind of enjoyed that, and that was really kind of a bigger surprise for me than Iceman in this book. The last thing, though, and I don't know that we're going to be reviewing this book on a regular basis, but the last thing I found interesting was that there are mutants hanging out in Utopia. And if you guys have been following the X-Men comics, after House of M, after Civil War, before Schism, actually Schism was the event that made them leave Utopia. There's this island that's out in San Francisco Bay. There are still people hanging out there, and we get a team of X-Men characters that we really haven't seen for a while. So I guess it kind of makes sense that they've been hanging out on this island. But kind of curious to see what that's all about. It almost seems like they're renegade X-Men. Maybe Marvel's trying to spin off a new book. With Secret War coming up, who knows what this is actually going to lead to.
And I don't know those characters, but just the way that one of the guy in the last panel that was kind of on the left, he was in a robe and looked kind of lizardy.
Oh, that's Mask.
Okay.
So Mask is a guy who has the ability to basically touch you and permanently disfigure you. And unless he touches you again, you don't get he's one of the Morlocks, actually.
Well, see, that's why I said earlier that basically, not when we were recording, but I said earlier that it looked like these must be the Morlocks. Because they were, I mean, uglier, I guess, more... I don't know. That's just, they look kind of like Morlocks.
Yeah. So most of the Morlocks anymore are gone. I mean, basically, unless your name's Callisto, you don't really see any Morlocks anymore. So Mask is one of the ones that survived the massacre way back when. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens to the whole Utopian thing. So maybe we'll cover that in a future book if we do another all-new X-Men. Now let's go ahead and move on to Geek TV. We've got a lot to cover with Netflix Daredevil.
Yes.
Greg and I have...
Since last week, it was 7 episodes? 8, actually.
Yes. Yeah, we've both finished the series at this point.
I powered through it, finished it last night.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I actually did 2 episodes myself last night to finally get it done. But overall impressions, I really enjoy this show.
Yeah. I was just going to say to start with some negatives so we can end on some positives.
Sure.
The things that I did not like about the show. Firstly, I thought that the dialogue/writing wasn't the best. Like, there aren't a whole lot of memorable lines that I can take from the show. Okay. There were a couple scenes, like a couple monologues that were pretty good, but I just felt like overall, like there was not a punchiness, or I mean, maybe it's not the right setting for that, so I don't necessarily hold that against the series, but I did feel like, especially with Fisk's character, it felt sometimes like he had, well, even with Daredevil, but that he had kind of 2 modes. He had like quiet, thoughtful Fisk, and then he had ragey, angry Fisk. Like, I thought D'Onofrio did a great job in the role, but I thought that the writing let him down a little bit because it was hard to sympathize with him. I've heard some people who said they didn't have any problem sympathizing with him, but at least for me, like, it seemed like he...
No, I'll be honest, I didn't sympathize with Fisk either.
He would move from basically being a mobster to being a beat you up and can't control himself. I don't know, it did not feel...
Yeah, no, I definitely got the sort of like... I don't want to say unpredictable, because you could always count on him to do something extreme. But he was kind of an unpredictable maniac.
Predictable is actually a good way to, like, if the problem I had with the show is a lot of times I did feel it was predictable. I felt like halfway through the episode, it's like, I know what's going to happen. So that would be my problem with the writing. The other thing is, continuing off of that, when we left off last week, we were at the end of episode 5.
Yes.
Daredevil was being arrested, basically. And it was like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But he ends up just beating up the cops. And honestly, it feels like a lot of times that's what would happen. He would get into a situation and the result would be he would just beat the crap out of them. So that was one main complaint I had. It was just a little bit predictable. The other thing is they didn't do much universe building, and the universe building they did do, they killed off so many characters.
Yeah, that's definitely a complaint I have.
Like, I liked Wesley, I liked Leland, I somewhat liked Ben. They're all gone now.
Yeah, and I was joking with a friend of mine at work today. I said, I felt like now that I finished Daredevil, I watched a 13-episode version of The Departed, because everybody died by the end of this thing. And I got to say, just speaking as a reader of Marvel Comics, I am just shocked that Ben Urich was killed.
Yeah, I've heard that. See, and that's the thing, like, as a non-comic reader, maybe I have a different perspective because I thought it was pretty obvious that he was going to die throughout that episode. But I think it's supposed to be a shock to comic readers because he's been around since the 70s from what I've heard.
Yeah, and he's a huge presence in Spider-Man. He's a huge presence in Daredevil.
And the Owl, too, they killed, except that he has a son, so that may come back later. But
yeah, but I got to say, if the Marvel-Sony deal had been done before Daredevil was finished filming, which it may have, but then maybe they were too far along, I don't think Ben Urich would have died. Ben Urich is one of those guys like Robbie Robertson, one of those guys like Betty Brant, Jonah Jameson, that's always at the Bugle, and he's been a contact for heroes. He's just an ever-presence at the newspaper facility. If we had known sooner, I think, that we were getting a Spider-Man movie and that there was a chance for Ben Urich to be used again, first of all, I don't think he would have been on Daredevil, which is sad to say, but that probably is true. But had they even let him be on Daredevil, I don't think they would have killed him. There's just way too much they could have done with him. So it's really kind of depressing knowing that Ben Urich's dead. And they established on the show that he didn't have any kids. So there really is. That's it for Ben Urich. This one Daredevil series, and he's gone.
And also his wife, she was so unimportant.
Yes.
You see her at the beginning and she's asleep. And then 8 episodes later, you see her again and she's awake and you find out she has Alzheimer's or something. Bad memory, basically. And then a few episodes later, he comes to her and he's like, let's go to Paris, honey. And she basically convinces him to do this story. And that's what gets him killed.
Well, and the thing is, too, again, we don't really know what she was sick of. But she definitely seemed unwell until that episode when they had that conversation, wanted to run away with her. She seemed like she was suddenly all there.
Yeah, she was suddenly very cogent in that scene. So, yeah.
So it was just kind of weird, I guess. I mean, I think... Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what goes on with Ben Urich's wife in the comics. I honestly don't know enough about her, but it just seems like she was there for a writing convenience.
The way they portrayed her in the series too, and I'm sure this wasn't their intention, but after she convinces him to break the story, and then she's talking to Karen at the funeral, and she's like, "Oh, he would have done it anyway." It's like, you talked him into it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I almost wondered for a second if she was on Fisk's payroll too. It was like, are you kidding me? That would have been awful. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I felt like that was kind of a wasted character and maybe not implemented very well. But overall, I guess we can move on to the positives now because there were a lot of positives.
There were.
I think the writing was a little bit not on the best side, but the acting was so good. The direction was really good. The fight scenes were very good.
I do have to say, and this is still focusing on the negatives, I was not happy with how Nobu went out.
Yeah, I don't think he's gone.
You don't think he's gone?
I don't think he's gone.
Okay, you think that we got some Shang-Chi stuff going on or some...
from what I've read online, at least, he was a member of a group called The Hand.
Well, definitely his ninja outfit seemed to suggest that. I don't know the actual Nobu. I didn't know if they made him up for the show, but he definitely dressed like the Hand. But all the drug packets in the show had the emblem of not Iron Fist, but his nemesis. I forget the name. I'm sorry, guys, I don't remember the name. But he had the dragon symbol of Iron Fist, arch enemy. So it's possible that there's some Kunlun magic or something going on. Maybe he can come back.
Speaking of Kunlun, Gao.
Yeah, the way that she fist palms. What was it? Was it Ben or was it Daredevil? It was Daredevil. Yeah, she fist palmed him and he went flying and she just kind of hobbled off.
And then Leland asked her if she was going back to China, and she goes, "No, I live somewhere very, very far away from there."
Yeah.
So I've heard speculation that she is. Oh gosh, what was the name? There's some character, Madame Crane.
Yeah, that's right, Madame Crane. I don't know enough about all of Iron Fist backstory and everything, but I definitely think that's world building for Iron Fist at the very least.
So we at least got that. She's still around. One of the few villains who survived.
But assuming Nobu is not dead, or is dead rather. I didn't like how that episode kind of played things out. It started with Daredevil fighting for his life, and then we get the flashback. Was that the one where Foggy and Matt talk it out? No, that's after. Yeah. So I forget what the B story is, or actually Nobu was the B story. I forget what the A story is.
That's the one where where Elena dies, because that kind of Elena Cardenas.
Oh yes.
Yeah, because that pushes Matt over the edge, which is kind of strange because he spent no time with her.
Right.
But yeah, that pushes him over the edge, and he kind of has this angry fight with Nobu, where actually, for the first time, he kind of kills someone, if Nobu is dead, because Nobu, he threw a blade at him or something, and Daredevil deflects it, and it hits the lamp above him, and that catches him on fire. Yeah. I mean, it's really kind of a kill.
It is. But I also feel like it wasn't earned.
Yeah.
Because, if I remember right, Daredevil really has no interactions with Nobu before that point. And it just... I didn't like the idea that the episode opens with this fight, and the whole time you're wondering, well, obviously it's going to lead to this, and then there's really no build up to the fight at all, and then the fight's over, and then that's the end of Nobu, and it's just like he's been in the series this whole time. I just feel like he needed more.
I think we'll see him, if not in season 2, we'll see him in the future burned. Like a burned face, because at least his face was exposed.
Yeah.
It's possible the rest of his suit was somehow insulated against fire, or I don't know. Okay. I think we'll see him again. I don't think he's gone.
Okay. Well,
I think it was much more clear with like Leland and Wesley, where you see them dead.
Yeah, and that's this is not a negative. It's a positive, but it's a sad positive. I thought Wesley was one of the standout characters.
I'm so sad he's not coming back.
Yeah, right? I mean, Wesley's been one of those guys that's been Kingpin's, not henchman or lackey, but his assistant / friend in the comics. And the guy, I mean, I was telling Greg as I was watching the show, it's just like, I think I'm more interested in what Wesley's going to do next than I am Fisk at times. I mean, he's just...
Well, and Wesley was the face of Fisk for the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense.
So, and I thought they got a great actor to play him. Granted, it's a comic book TV show, so maybe he can come back. But at the same time, it's just like, it was sad. Like, first of all, I loved when Karen shot him. I did not expect her to do that.
The dialogue was so bad there, though.
It was.
He was like, you think I'd put a loaded gun on the table where you could reach it? Apparently so.
Yeah.
I mean, really? Why would you say that? I guess he was trying to convince her.
Mind games, and then his phone rang.
He really shouldn't have put a loaded gun on the table where she could reach it.
Right.
I mean, anyway.
So, yeah, I guess we really don't know what his final plan was, because he was by himself with her. I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
So...
I was, in that scene, I was hoping so much that, because they hadn't revealed yet that Leland had turned, or maybe they had, but it was not quite obvious yet.
Right.
I was kind of thinking that, actually, before I even got to that episode, I had the thought, Kingpin, what is his effectiveness in this? It seems like his only role is to be the bankroller of everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
So it seemed like if I were a member of this team of criminals, you had Nobu and Gao and Leland and Wesley.
And the Russians.
I'd be thinking, let's cut this guy out. Because he's just kind of an angry bastard that's not helping.
And he really does mouth off at everybody.
He does. Yeah. And I would like that Leland at least had that idea, and Gao seemed to be with it as well. So I was kind of hoping that Leland talking to Karen was actually, or not Leland, Wesley talking to Karen was him going to be offering her some sort of way to help him against Kingpin. But it ends up being the case that basically Wesley's loyal to the end, to his death.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in that.
So, but the series as a whole, though, I think had a lot of great moments, and I wish we maybe would have gotten like a better goodbye, I guess, with the night nurse. What was her name? Rosario Dawson's character.
That was a strange role for her.
Yeah.
She was in the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then she reappears in I think episode 6, and then you really don't see her again until kind of the end.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see her again at some point.
I'm sure we will too. So.
Well, there was one other thing. Oh yeah. What's your favorite episode?
My favorite episode so far. Well, I mean, obviously, episode 2 is the easy one.
Yeah, because the corridor fight and some of the other stuff happens there. Yeah.
But I really liked the Nelson versus Murdoch episode.
It was a good one.
I liked that. Where I mean, Foggy. I mean, I gotta say, the guy that they got to play Foggy Nelson, the guy who was in the Mighty Ducks movies, I'm forgetting his name now, but I believed every one of his scenes that he really was, Matt's best friend. He was always looking out for him. He felt so betrayed, and typically in scenes like this or in movies like this, when the lifelong friend finds out that there's been a secret this whole time, you're just like, get over it, you baby. Obviously, there were bigger things involved, but I never once did I feel like Foggy was overreacting. I was just like, man, this guy's really upset, and he never went overboard with it.
No.
He tried to understand.
He was very reasonable, and I loved that the episode, it was called Nelson v. Murdoch, I think. There was kind of the whole court, back and forth, each of them presenting their arguments, and then they would move to some other scene that would actually reinforce whatever they were talking about. Yeah, I thought that was very well done.
And also, that same episode gave us the teaser for Elektra.
Oh, I didn't.
Because they joked about it in the comics when Matt's in college. He actually meets Elektra Nachios, and Daredevil even meets Elektra, the hero villain, and they actually date Matt and Elektra, and then she ends up leaving. And I'm not remembering the entire story, but I'm not sure if it was meant to be a one-off story originally, but that was basically the origin of Elektra. Ah. And Foggy makes a reference to the Greek girl that Matt started dating. He's like, things didn't work out. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of a nice nod.
There were a few other, from what I've heard, I don't read the comics, but I've read online what people have been saying since. There are a few other setups for that as well. Or not for that, but setups for other characters. What was it, Melvin, I want to say? Melvin Potter?
Oh, yeah, he was the Guardian.
He's the Guardian.
Yeah.
And in his shop, top, you see stilts on the wall.
I've heard that, but I haven't seen them. Yeah. I need to go back and watch the episode.
So there are definitely some other setups here and there.
He also throws the saw blade, which Guardian has saw blades on the back of his arms. Yep. He's definitely a 60s goofy villain, and I don't know that we've seen the Guardian as the Guardian in comics anytime recently. I think he's kind of become just a costume designer for villains and heroes.
So yeah, there were lots of little Easter eggs for people watching. Also, in the final Fisk fight, I felt like there were a few Easter eggs there. Things that maybe I didn't quite get, like the scene where Fisk picks him up and like drops him. I kind of have memory of this happening in Michael Clark Duncan Kingpin.
That actually happened. Okay,
so was that actually a reference?
I don't know, but that definitely happened in the 2003 film. Okay. Also, I got to say that was one of the faker shots I've seen in the series.
Honestly, I thought that fight was not as good as it could have been.
Agreed.
There were things I didn't like about that fight.
I mean, it ultimately came down to Kingpin just whacking Daredevil with a pipe.
Yeah, and the way that right before they fight, Kingpin's like, "You ruined everything. I'm gonna kill you." Yeah. It really just felt so over the top. I don't know.
And I think the fight lost something too, because Daredevil has the armor at that point, and sparks are flying off of him as he's getting hit with a pipe. It wasn't as visceral as what we'd seen before. Yeah. So.
I have to say, my favorite episode was the Stick episode. I think it was just called Stick.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the character of Stick. I enjoyed kind of the setup and the fact that was really like a self-contained story. Mm-hmm. He meets this guy that helped train him a long time ago, and then the two of them go off on this mission together. Also, do you know anything about the Black Sky?
No, I don't know anything about Black Sky.
So I haven't looked that one up actually, but so there was this little kid and Stick promised he wasn't going to kill anyone. Then we see this little kid in a shipping crate, and he shoots an arrow at him, and Daredevil's mad because he said he wasn't going to kill anyone, and Stick is like, I didn't kill anyone, even though he did later kill that kid. I happen to speak Japanese. The box that he was being carried in said "Also no robotics" on the side of it.
Huh.
So was that kid a robot?
Well, that's interesting.
That is the only way I can see that Stick stuck to his word that he didn't kill anyone, but that kid must have been some sort of cyborg robot.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, maybe that'll come back in Luke Cage's show or
and also show. At the end of that episode, we saw a guy sitting there, and he was basically...
Yeah, I have no idea who that was.
Yeah, he never reappeared in the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And he said something about how Black Sky, the floodgates were open, or I can't remember exactly what the words were, but...
That's definitely... I don't think we're going to get more of that in Jessica Jones. I think a lot of the Kung Fu martial arts stuff is probably going to come with the Iron Fist series. Mm-hmm. Maybe 2 more shows down where they've had a chance to expand the realm of supernatural maybe a little bit more on this show or this universe. So, but yeah, that's definitely some interesting things to look forward to. Also, I think it's telling that we didn't see the guy's face that Stick was talking to.
Yeah.
Still have a chance to recast him if they want to before.
I'm sure it's just because of Ronan Dex, but I was kind of sitting there thinking, is that Jason Momoa?
Right. I don't think Jason Momoa will ever be seen doing a Marvel project. Yeah. He kind of blew that chance.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's go ahead and move on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This week was another really good week for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Again, Kyle MacLachlan's just tearing it up in every scene he's in. And Skye really feels bad for him this episode, and I actually kind of like that. Despite everything that he's done, she's really wanting to give this guy a second chance.
Well, and it's sad that now that his whole family's together, his mom, or her mom, Skye's mom, is trying to cut Cal out.
Yes.
And Skye doesn't really understand. She's like, but he's fine now. Like, now that we're all together, he's not crazy. And if you cut him out, you're going to drive him crazy.
And it definitely, you could tell, like, the moment he was in Detroit, anything could have set him off.
Was it Detroit? I thought it was Minneapolis or something.
Or Minneapolis, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Okay.
I don't remember.
So, but yeah, it was definitely kind of scary
Milwaukee,
once we had him back. Milwaukee, that's what it was. So it was definitely kind of scary once we had him back on the streets. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like, he might get upset by people bumping into him or whatever. But, man, it's endearing that he loves his daughter so much that he wants everything to be perfect. And I want Cal to be happy. As crazy as that sounds, as nuts as this guy is, I just want Cal to be happy.
Yeah, I mean, even though he is kind of a ragey, like, he reminds me of Kingpin in certain ways. Because he is kind of very emotional, and when he doesn't get his way, he's the beat you up type. But his story is much more compelling to me.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand why he's so mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, we got Ward and Agent 33, more of them. Kara, we have her name now.
Yeah, that's true. And we even got some Bakshi, which I really like what they did with Bakshi this week.
Yeah.
Man, you don't know what side he's playing or whose side he's on.
Do you think he was essentially inoculated against brainwashing by Whitehall?
That would be fascinating.
So he's been faking it this whole time?
That would be really interesting. I mean, it would make sense since he was doing, he was right there with Whitehall. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense if he's got
he knows ways
defense against it, yeah. So, and I like the way that they kind of were using Deathlock this week. We almost sort of got a superhero team up with Deathlock and Lincoln there at one point. So, some great moments there. And one of the biggest things about this episode, we're kind of jumping right to the end, is that Coulson turned himself in.
Take me to your leader.
Yeah, that was great. So, we have, I think, there's 4 or 5 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. left. Also, we got Hydra mentioned in this episode. We got Baron von Strucker's name dropped again. We got an image of Baron von Strucker on a TV screen. So
I haven't actually seen the promo for next week, but I've heard people saying that there is a confirmed Age of Ultron crossover.
Well, then we need to look that up.
Yeah, reference coming up.
Because I haven't looked for it either. But with the way that, they were name dropping Baron von Strucker a lot in the first half of season 2. And I'm sure for a lot of people who don't even know about the comics, in retrospect, when they go back and watch, they'll be like, oh, they were mentioning this guy the whole time, and he was in Age of Ultron. So they're definitely building up to some sort of connective tissue between the movie and the series.
Absolutely.
So very interesting to see where that goes. I'm also find it interesting that Coulson, for lack of better explanation, is still the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. And I had predicted that by the time Age of Ultron rolls around, Fury's going to show up on the show and take ownership of S.H.I.E.L.D. back long enough to do the movie and then not be the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. again. I'm starting to wonder now if S.H.I.E.L.D's just not even going to be mentioned in Age of Ultron.
I kind of think that's the case, yeah.
Yeah, so the heroes, as far as they're concerned, S.H.I.E.L's still gone, and Nick Fury's just not going to mention that he gave the toolbox. Not that he needs to. It was never established in the movie that that's what was going on. So. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. But another very good episode. I don't think it was quite as good as last week's show. But
yeah, there was more of just kind of moving people around, seeing what's going to happen. But at the same time, very good fights, very good. Yeah, I enjoyed the episode.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and run down Arrow and Flash for us?
I'm going to be pretty quick on here because we're running out of time. But Arrow, little bit of a waste this week, I thought. Basically, the whole episode, we got, it was no surprise. Thea gets put in the Lazarus pit. She comes back to life. She's a little bit different, but we don't really see much of that. The flashbacks, I feel like they're still kind of wasting time there. We had Felicity and Oliver actually sleep together in this episode before they leave him in Nana Parbat, where he has decided to take up the Ra's al Ghul mantle in order to save Thea. Felicity drugs Oliver and they try to run out with him. It doesn't work. Basically, I just felt like this episode was a bit of a waste. Also, especially since we know from the preview on Flash a few weeks ago that Oliver will be back soon with Firestorm and the Flash fighting Reverse Flash soon. So yeah, I didn't really buy the whole suspense that they were doing. But Thea's back. Oliver has decided to take out the Ra's al Ghul mantle. That's what happened this week. Okay. Flash. Let's see, gosh, what actually happened on Flash? We advanced the Harrison Wells plotline a little bit. We had Joe and Cisco and Detective Lance find the body of the original Harrison Wells before he got swapped with Eobard Thawne. And Laurel had Cisco make her a sonic necklace thing. So
really?
Which
so she can do her Banshee scream.
Yeah.
Or Black Canary
scream.
He
called it the Canary's Cry or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are you familiar with what her power is in the comics?
No, but they had Sarah using a sonic disruptor thing.
They did, but that was like a hand-based tool. Mm-hmm. Black Canary in the comics has an organic ability to do a siren scream, basically.
I see.
So it's nice to see that they've integrated that.
Yeah, I think she'll be wearing a necklace or something coming up soon. That has that. Also, Joe convinced Lance that he needs to be a little bit nicer on Laurel. But, okay, what else happened? There was an A-plot. And I can't even remember what it was. It really felt like they were wasting time there too. Oh, it was this guy that can shapeshift.
Okay.
And that basically they didn't know right away whether he could steal Barry's powers by touching him, so Barry wasn't able to touch him. Then later the guy steals Barry's appearance in a horrible, stupid heist, and he can't use Barry's powers. So then Barry stops him.
Okay.
The end.
So, big fan of Flash and Arrow this week.
Yeah, it feels to me like Arrow's been kind of spinning its wheels for a little while, but it feels to me like Flash, they were like, oh crap, we're going too fast. We need to slow it down a little bit, and they've kind of they've had these A plots, but the B plot has really been the more important thing, and it's only taken up about 5 or 10 minutes per episode. And the B plot now is them advancing the Harrison Wells story.
Okay.
And I'm hoping next week Harrison Wells is the A plot.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, all right, well, let's go ahead and move on to Gotham. Interesting week at Gotham. We see the fallout of Selena Kyle killing Alfred's war buddy.
Yeah,
Reggie Payne, and Bruce is really not okay with it. Yep. But Selena kind of tells him, like, this is something you had to do because this guy was on the payroll of your company, and they knew that, he met with you guys, it was going to be all over. So. And
then they tracked down Bunderslaw at the Wayne charity ball.
Oh, yes. Yep. So we also get a little bit of backstory on Ogre.
Yep.
Did we even see Morena Baccarin this week?
Very little. Yeah, I think you see her right at the beginning. Yeah, because she thought somebody was in her house.
Oh, that's right. And we see, well, Bruce is lying to Alfred. We know that. Mm-hmm. He's not letting him know what's going on. And then, of course, we get probably the most important thing of this week's show is the Riddler.
Yeah.
We saw Riddler's first kill.
Yes, and I was a little bit disappointed in that plot line. We didn't know what was going to send Riddler over the edge, and it's just a little bit disappointing to me that basically it's a girl thing.
Yeah.
And that she's being beaten. I don't know. It just felt all a little bit cliche.
Sure.
I was hoping they would do something more interesting with that. The thing I hope that this turns into is he never actually outright expresses interest in her, but now he's kind of creepily protecting her from other people.
Yeah.
That would be kind of interesting to me. I hope that's what it is. Also on the Lee Gordon plotline, what I expect to happen there, we saw Barbara walk into the Ogre's torture dungeon.
Yes.
And she gave him a little smile, which don't know what that was all about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what I'm expecting to happen there is Gordon realizing that Barbara has been captured, decides that he needs to save her, and then Lee realizes Gordon is still in love with Barbara, and that it's not going to work out with the two of them. That's kind of how I expect that one to go.
All right, well, there we go. We've got Gotham. I liked Gotham a little bit. I'm liking that they're doing some development with Riddler. But...
Oh, and also the Penguin thing. Penguin's mother found out about his criminal activity.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that that's really going anywhere yet. Yeah. So, but I do like what they're doing with the Riddler, despite the fact that it was a little ham-fisted. I like that character on the show, so I like that we're getting some.
I really like the guy who plays Nigma. I think that he does a good job. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to some quick gaming news here. Just a couple of notes that we want to make. Marvel and Telltale announced today that they are having a game come out in 2017. Telltale Games, of course, is famous for The Walking Dead, Poker Night, Tales from Borderland. They've done a lot of sort of point-and-click adventures or just some conversations.
They seem to be the go-to developers for licensed properties right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that they don't narrow. I hope that all of this happening doesn't make them be spread too thin and their quality goes down, but
I think it is interesting to note that the game's not expected until 2017,
yeah.
So they probably haven't even started it. Mm-hmm. It'll probably be a while before we even get our first images of the game. So, but it is coming out at least the same time as Doctor Strange or thereabout, and probably before Infinity War. So there'll probably be some. I think it's going to be based off the cinematic universe to some extent.
I was wondering about that because there's been no confirmation yet that it actually will be in the MCU or is based off.
If I had to guess, if it's not based on the MCU, every character featured in the game will be in the MCU. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to get any X-Men in this game. We're not going to get any Fantastic Four in this game. We're going to get the Avengers and the Guardians, and that's probably what it's going to be focused on.
Yep.
So Family Guy, Star Trek are still playing it. We have one more week to go. We'll give you guys our full impressions. Yeah. Maybe next week during the Age of Ultron review, or we might even do it the week after, just to let you know what our thoughts are.
Yeah.
Also, what we're playing this week, I'm still playing the Family Guy mobile game. Greg, what have you been playing?
I'm playing Family Guy mobile, and I've also been playing the Killing Floor 2 early access release, which so far I'm really enjoying. They've added some new features to the game that are definitely interesting. Destructibility in the terrain as far as lights and doors, definitely makes you have to stay on top of your game. So
awesome. So, all right, guys. So my pick of the week is actually probably going to be All New X-Men number 40. I think it's a pretty interesting comic, pretty important for the X-Men franchise moving forward. It's probably telling that they've made such dramatic changes with at least Iceman. That might be our Iceman coming out of Secret War. So probably a book you guys want to check out. What's your pick of the week?
Got to be Killing Floor 2.
Killing Floor 2.
Killing Floor 2. I've been looking forward to this game for months, and it's finally here, and I love it. I'm so pleased my computer can actually handle it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, so that's our show for the week. Again, next week we are doing an Avengers Age of Ultron review show. So if not our whole show, most of our show will be dedicated to that. JT will be back. We'll be filming the show right after we watch the movie, and we'll try to get up as soon as possible on Friday, so it'll be up earlier than our show typically is. So definitely be on the lookout for that, but we're both pretty excited about seeing that movie.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks for watching this week, guys, and we'll see you next time.